Like the new logo? Hey, check it out. This is overexposed, but it says Certificate of Incorporation and Frise Design and Build on it. So I was thinking, well, every great company started off in a garage, right? So this is what I did for my garage, but feel free to use this as inspiration for your own setup. First order of business was to get rid of everything that we didn't need. A couple of posts on Kijiji and one dump run later, I organized everything that we had left, putting as much as possible up into the rafters. I made a hanger for storing OSB and plywood panels, and then organized the tool wall so that I knew where everything was. This left the garage a blank canvas that I was ready to begin designing with. Next up was lighting. My garage has always been quite dim, being lit by only about 4 incandescent light bulbs. I found these LED lights on Amazon that fit into the same socket, but were much brighter than the incandescent lights. The only issue with these is that they're so bright that they're a bit too harsh for the camera and quite hard to look at. So I got some diffusion fabric commonly used in photography to place it in front of them and soften the light. Some of you have been asking what I did with the office model from my first 2 videos. As soon as I began work on the bar project, I dismantled the framing and saved the wood and screws, which meant that I had a bunch of materials that I could repurpose for this garage renovation. I ripped up some 2x4s and then made a simple square that I then cut and stapled the fabric to. I did this twice and then screwed them onto the rafters so that the fabric was just hanging a few inches below the lights. The main feature of any garage workshop should be a good, solid work table. I started mine with a sheet of plywood and a simple 2x4 frame around the perimeter with some bracing in the middle. I would advise screwing the plywood down into the frame instead of nailing so that down the line you can replace the plywood sheet once it's bruised and beaten up beyond repair. The key with attaching on legs is that you want them to be supported in every direction. I achieved this simply by placing some blocking on the inside corners and screwing them tight from all angles. The nature of this design is that it will be pretty strong lengthwise, but still wobble along its width. To combat this, I installed some cross bracing fixed to a secondary beam. Then, never one to miss an opportunity for making something dual purpose, I added some custom storage for easy access to a student's favorite pastime. If you too are looking to design your garage to be dual purpose, then you know that good music is crucial to the success of any game, and also a nice luxury to have while working. For this, I installed speakers on opposing walls of my garage so that when I'm at my work table, I get a surround sound-like effect. If you ever do this in your own garage, make sure that the speakers aren't pointing towards your garage door so that if it were ever open, you won't be blasting music directly to your neighbors, unless that's your goal. I tried to keep the cable management looking nice by running the speaker wires through the rafters and tacking them in place, eventually connecting them to an amp that I made a shelf for at eye level, right by the main light switch. Next step was installing the vise. Now, this step is rather small, but having a vise is such a useful tool in a workshop. It's the equivalent of having an extra hand, except it's a hand with the grip strength of a gorilla and happens to have a mini anvil on it, or at least in my case. Branding. Now, this step may be a bit more unique to me, but putting some effort to personalize your workspace goes a long way. Placing my logo on my work table not only ties my work to my brand, but serves as a reminder every time I'm in my workshop as to why I'm there. For you, this may look like displaying some of your most prized work, pictures of you and your family, or a personal logo if you have one. Now, if you watched my video on the backyard bar that I built, you'll know that I featured a cedar countertop shaped like an L. I actually saved a cutoff from that counter, and now that I was putting effort to make this garage feel like HQ, the opportunity was staring at me in the face. got this air heater hoping that it would heat up my garage. What I didn't think about was how the garage roof was uninsulated. So the hot air that it would create would just rise and then leave through the roof, leaving Travolta and I cold and confused. Simply put, the rate of heat gain from the heater just barely offset the rate of heat loss through the walls and the roof, meaning that the garage would take hours to get just a few degrees warmer. My solution was to get an infrared heater. These are a great solution for poorly insulated spaces, as instead of heating up the air, the infrared heaters directly heat up objects, much like the sun. If you're within its line of sight, then you'll instantly feel its warmth. I screwed it onto 2x4s and attached stoppers on either end so that I didn't have to screw it into the rafters and could reposition it based on where I'm working in the garage. My last addition to the garage is a bench. Built similar to the table, it serves both as a seating area when needed, as well as a shelf to place tools on when I'm using the work table for building my upcoming projects. Overall, I'm really happy with the result. My garage went from a messy, unorganized storage room to a highly functional headquarters that I'll be using to build these coming projects. Truth is, I'm just getting started. I have so much planned for the near future and can't wait to share it with you all. Until then, cheers, and best of luck on your own garage build. I'd love to see what you do.
Do you hear what I hear? Do you care what I care? Do you know what I know? Do we know what we share? Do you hear what I hear?